guys? Welcome back to Clubhouse Sports. Sorry we've been away so long, but we're back and ready to get back into it.
Hey, how's it going?
Let's roll.
Tom, KP.
Glad to be here again.
Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure to have you on.
I know.
So we hadn't really recapped the Trippy Trip yet since we gotten back. We had a request come in to give a highlight to everyone's favorite part of the trip. I'll pass it off to Yug first since he was there the least amount of time and didn't get to experience the full trip.
Yes, unfortunately, I had to dip out a day early. I wish I could have stayed, but adulting in progress, I guess. But the highlight of my trip really was night one. I know that we went out to a quick little bar here and played a little bit of Jenga, and there wasn't a whole lot of people there, and we weren't really sure. There was a lot of rain going on, and the weather wasn't the greatest, but we ended up closing our tabs after I lost a nice game of Connect 4 to Trent. Ended up being a $60 game.
That round of shots was heavy.
That's okay, though. Went to a good cause. But then we walked a couple blocks up the street and took a right and ended up at this lovely establishment that we'll call McDenton's. We walked into an outside bar, and everybody was a lot more people out, covered, no rain affecting anyone's night. And the drinks were flowing. The ladies were out, as the meme once said.
Trent was getting nasty with the crew there at DJ. It was definitely the highlight of my night right there.
I had to get fucking low.
Getting freaky.
Yeah.
But then I'll wrap it up here quick. Then we went inside McDenton's, and we didn't come back out because when you got in there was just a bit of a small room off to the side next to a bar. There was pretty much a mosh pit. There was a lot of people in there, a lot of close proximity, no masks. And they were playing a lot of throwbacks, and I think at that point the drinks were flowing a little bit more. There was a lot of drinking going on. It was a good, responsible night by a bunch of young men, and I think it was all around a great night.
Anything to add, KP?
This was the peak of my trip as well. Pretty much did a 24-hour. Was up for at least 24 hours straight.
Oh, yeah.
Besides the fact of seeing you dance and steal 30 beers or however was there, this truly symbolized Trippy Trip, if you know what I mean, because we did have to get through those 24 hours and can't do that off of just adrenaline. So I'd say that was the peak of my trip, too.
Leaving a lot there to assumption. I will just add before I let Tom talk on his favorite day, my legs were sore for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed. First of all, it was great hosting you guys and getting you into a new hometown for me. But unfortunately, the weather wasn't too nice to us throughout the weekend. Got nice on Monday while you guys stuck around. I got to see Penn and his fam down at the beach towards Sarasota. Actually, got invited over to the grandparents' house for a nice little swim to end the weekend.
Charcuterie board, or how do we say it?
Yeah,
board
you
and
nailed
everything.
That. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A couple of beers on the beach Monday, watching Trent fall in on the paddleboard was always fun. And I gotta say, it was probably the most memorable day for me because I wasn't too drunk to forget anything for once.
Yeah, that was a nice damn day. And I'll switch gears to a night that Kyle had a tough outing on Saturday night as well because apparently he forgot how to play boom. Kyle, you got anything to add on your boom performance on Saturday night that caused you to drink about 7 beers in the span of a week and a half?
You guys are gonna look towards my performance, but it's just the way the ping pong ball falls sometimes. I really think
The way the cookie crumbles.
I was playing pretty, solid out there. But after the fact, it did have its effects and ended up losing you guys there for a little bit. But thanks to Peggy, Uber XL, was able to make it home to.
You got a solo
right?
Uber XL?
Yeah,
So
they were
long,
only
Mark.
offering XLs that night for some reason. So, but really,
That's nice.
great night, great time. UFC 268 was going on. What more can you ask for? I mean, we're still here, so.
All right, anything to close out the Trippy Trip, and we'll make sure to do a live event the next time we've got.
I think it's the first, but I don't think it's going to be the last. I can say that.
I think so too. I think the only thing we do next is pick next year's destination, and I'll meet you there.
More be a very football heavy pod because none of us know anything about college basketball, and there's nothing to talk about in the NBA other than Evan Mobley being hurt. So we'll kick it off to another former Cleveland athlete, and Odell Beckham Jr. joined the Rams this week and went into battle with the 49ers. And Charlie was all by himself in the picks last week. He was desperate, hoping to for a Niners win. They pulled it out and destroyed the Rams. Chuck, would you like to reset your Niners expectations for the rest of the year?
I'm still cautiously optimistic. They're still in a great division, but I mean that's as good as they've looked all year. That's what, as a Niners fan, you thought you were going to get from the beginning. They've shown flashes, but this was probably, I think Jimmy G said it too. I think this is as close to the Super Bowl team as they have been, as he's seen since they lost.
Wow, that's big coming from a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been through a lot of wars.
Yep, I think if they can beat the Jaguars, which I'm not going to take these games for granted anymore after the loss to Colt McCoy last week. Go check out that pod if you haven't already. But yeah, we're going to take it 1 week at a time. We're going to beat the Jaguars. We're going to get back to 500, and then we're going to right the ship.
Tom, anything to this Odell curse? I mean, I wouldn't look too much into the fact, like, Odell made an impact, meaning he had a tackle. I think it was like the third play of the game. So,
it was a pretty sick hit.
Make plays on defense. Maybe you should throw him in special teams, kickoff return coverage, because he looked pretty good right there. But other than that, I mean, he was pretty, obviously he had like 3 catches for 20 yards, and the Rams got dismantled by the Niners in every facet of the game. So not a whole lot to talk about it. And then Rams and Matthew Stafford have been struggling, and Niners maybe trying to get back on track here.
Yeah, Kyle, what do you think about your Super Bowl pick Rams? Not super concerning maybe, but they have been stumbling the last month.
I have nothing to comment on the guy you're talking about. I really don't. But with the Rams, I was able to catch a little bit of this game last night and last week. They're struggling a little bit, like most teams in the NFL. I think they need to get back to running the football consistently. I know Henderson's was banged up a little bit yesterday, but for as much confidence as I have in Stafford, can't do it all yourself. You have to be a balanced team. So I think they got to get back to running the football. And
are we not allowed to say Odell's name anymore? Are you not allowed to say Odell's name anymore? You're keeping it off your tongue?
The 4-letter network already, talks about him 3 hours before the game for him to play about 5 snaps. So, I'm not going to give that any more attention there.
Kyle taking shots at ESPN, and Odell won't call him out by name. But anything you guys want to add on the Niners here before we keep it moving?
Nope.
And then now over to the favorite team of the other 3. I feel like every other week we're singing the end of the Browns season all the way back in the next week. Tom, where are we at after this game?
We're at 5-5, and we're on to whoever's on the slate Sunday.
Lions.
We're on to the Lions.
More concerned about the defense or Baker after that game?
I mean, I don't know. The Patriots, you had to see like Bill Belichick just coming ready and attacking the Browns. I mean, obviously we didn't do anything after the first drive, and I would say the defense was a bigger concern there, I guess. I mean, Baker's banged up. We know what he is. They definitely need to be able to run and pass the football both effectively, and they weren't able to do that after the first drive.
All right, let
Well,
me step in and ask all three of you Browns fans a question. So, Baker obviously is going to be a free agent after this year, correct?
No, well they can exercise the 5th-year option on him.
they already did. So he's going to be contract eligible after um, going into the offseason.
Okay, so let's put yourself in the shoes of the Browns GM. Assume that going into next year, Baker will be completely healthy. What's your contract offer to him as far as years and money for at the end of the year? Are you going to give him a max deal? Are you going to give him a bunch of years? Are you going to give him like a little 2-year prove it deal? Are you going to let him walk?
I think a franchise tag is the most logical thing. I mean, maybe at this point.
Is it the tag yet, or from my understanding it's the 5th-year first-round option, which is a set number, correct? And that's
he'll play on the 5th-year option next year, but he'd have to get tagged after that. I'm with Tom. I think this is going to turn into a Kirk Cousins like situation. I think they're gonna use. I mean, the franchise tag is good money. Obviously, it doesn't show any sign of like commitment to the quarterback, but I hope it doesn't get to a year 2 on the tag. I think they'll give him. I know this is crazy to say. I think they'll give him 2 more years unless the bottom falls out, because they can and they don't have to commit anything that much during those 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree.
Kyle?
I think the blueprint was kind of set, like you said, with Cousins and the Redskins, and also with Dak. So both pretty much did the same thing. It worked out differently for both. One earned a long-term contract, and they let the other one walk. So I see no reason why not to give him any more than working on 1-year deals right now.
Yeah, I get my biggest takeaway after this Browns game was I would have thought I would have been depressed after a performance like that, but I was just seeing a lot of the reactions from Browns fans on social media and text messages like, okay, it didn't work this year, maybe. I mean, there's still half a season left, but it doesn't look great. We don't have to like fire everyone, and anything doesn't go good 1 year. Like we can like fire a defensive coordinator or retool something else. Like you don't have to completely blow it up because that's what we're used to. Like, let's give it some time here while we can.
For me, this was probably the most disappointing loss of the year. We touched on it with Chuck and the Niners last week. You know, not the fact that they lost, but the way they lost, and
yeah, it was disgusting.
I won't say lack of effort, but down those lines. And now we kind of got players calling out coaches and things like that. And, we're not in there, but, you gotta go do your job at the end of the day. It's coach's job to put them in positions to succeed, but they can't go make the plays for players. And the lack of effort, especially defensively, was very irritating in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Tom, but I guess for me, the worst part of that game was watching them run for 200 freaking yards with a backup running back that was picked in the 4th round this year.
Yeah, no, it was not good to watch. That's why I didn't watch the second half.
We're not a good mental spot, Browns fans, but talk about a team, a fan base that's probably in a much better mental spot after Sunday night's performance. Tom, are the Chiefs back?
I mean, I'm not ready to declare them like, the Super Bowl favorites again, but they're right in there in the division. And obviously Pat Mahomes threw for 5 tuds, did his thing, and they looked, back to the regular form.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've been talking about the Raiders falling off now for a little while. So I do see that kind of being the beginning of the end there. I'm not ready to declare the Chiefs all the way back, but they're in contention, obviously, for a playoff spot.
Chuck, what do you make of this one?
I think it's a combination of the fact that their division isn't as good as people thought after the first month, and the fact that I don't think they ever left. I mean, they had some games where their defense was ass, and if you look at the past couple of years when they've been to the Super Bowl, their defense wasn't the reason they got to the Super Bowl anyways. So I think the offense where it was a little lackluster, and I mean, everybody's got their off games. It just goes to show you when they're on, they can't be touched. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think they should be up there for the Super Bowl favorites. Not the favorites, but I'd say probably top three. I think they just went through a bad stretch, and they're probably about to rattle off a couple dubs.
Still, I wouldn't say they're back and wasn't necessarily impressed.
You weren't impressed.
Patty
No,
Mahomes.
I think they live and die by, the way the ball falls. Sometimes a big Deshaun Jackson fumble kind of changed the complexion of this game. Played better stopping the run, but I still letting explosive plays in the passing game. Mahomes' numbers looked good. I still think there were some questionable throws, some things that just went his way this time. That's kind of how this team goes. But what say you, Trent?
I think the Chiefs are probably still going to compete for the AFC, but this doesn't feel like a year where they win a title. They just haven't been consistent enough to really be able. They'd have to show me something they haven't shown me yet with the consistency of running the ball and throwing the ball. This Raiders team, like you all kind of touched on, feels like they're down and out. I don't know what that means for Derek Carr and them going forward, but it might be more to say about the Raiders than anything else.
I think the Chiefs could go. I mean, if you look at the top teams in the AFC, like there's nobody's really been consistent. If you want to use that word, like Chiefs had their little blunder a couple weeks ago. Bills just lost to the Jets.
No, they beat the Jets this week, but they lost to the
Or who'd
Jags
they
the week
lose?
before.
Jags.
Yeah.
Jags. They lost to the Jaguars, and then the Ravens just got toppled by the Dolphins. The Browns, you thought they'd be up there. They're in like the middle of the pack still. I mean, who else? I mean, there's nobody really at the top of the AFC that's been
Titans. Your Titans.
The Titans, the Titans, but they don't have Derrick Henry, and that's going to bite them in the ass eventually.
All right, well, let's switch gears into a game you touched on from Thursday night. Lamar Jackson was probably getting some MVP hype coming into that week, and I think I was not far from touting some of that, but it's an ugly performance by the Baltimore offense and really muddying up this AFC picture. Is this more than just a roadblock for them, or do we see this as a problem for the future? This Dolphins team's pretty bad.
I mean, the Dolphins are bad, but I think you got to take every Thursday night game with a grain of salt. And the Ravens have looked like they could beat anyone at one point, and then turn around on Thursday night and lay an egg against the Dolphins. So it's a Thursday night game that I don't think you should ever take too seriously. I think the Ravens will be just fine. And
I think this AFC is just really kind of a mess right now. I mean, Charlie was kind of touching on it. We've watched the Browns blow out the Bengals blow out the Ravens, and then the Ravens lose to the Dolphins.
The Ravens almost are a 66-yard field goal away from losing to the Lions.
Yeah,
so it's like anybody's game. I feel like any bet you make on an AFC team is just, I mean, you got a fucking shot.
Resuming on the NFL, we spoke about how AFC seems to no one's really taking it right now, and my next point would be who really is in the NFC. We touched upon how the Rams and their struggles right now, and we just saw the Buccaneers lose to the Redskins yesterday, correct?
Yeah.
Cancel culture. Cancel you.
Really, I think it just shows the parity in the NFL right now, and teams and coaches' ability to, attack weaknesses on a team, even, for some of the more well-known and better teams in the league. What say you guys?
I mean, the football team hasn't even been able to stop anyone. Yeah, you did. That's why they cancel your ass.
Football team.
But the football team hasn't been able to stop anyone this year, so I can't believe they slowed down Tom Brady and the Bucs. I don't know what to make of any of that. Chase Young didn't even play the whole game. Like, are we just seeing a more even talent spread this year, or what do we think the reason for all this variability is?
Well, I'll
It's tough
take
to
this
say.
moment to do our station identification. Brought to you by this podcast is sponsored by Papa John's. They're currently doing free shit. So if you order something, you're
That
probably
was
gonna get
fucking Domino's.
That was Domino's.
This pod is brought to you by Domino's. They're doing free shit now where if you order pizzas, you're going to get some free shit thrown in. I got an extra pepperoni pizza when we were in Tampa Bay, free of charge, no, not even delivery fee.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
clutch.
to get back, and then if use the code Clubhouse Sports at checkout for 10% off. If it doesn't work, please send an email to ttnc2015@gmail.com. But back to your question about the Buccaneers, I think it just raises the question that they are 0-1 with an upsetting loss since we have been in Tampa. So does it strike the question that we may have cursed it with our shitty fandoms coming down there and tainting what Tom Brady had going?
Didn't they lose against the Saints last week too?
While we were there.
Yeah, so really it started 2 weeks ago.
0-2.
So it could have something to do with that, just bringing back from the Buccaneers to the Succaneers very quickly here, it seems like. So they do got some things to figure out, but I still think they got TB12 and they'd be all right. I don't know what's going on in the NFL, though. It's just everyone's losing.
Curse
Somebody's got to win.
The curse of McGinton's.
And sometimes they often say, what is in the water down there in Tampa? But Trent Thomas was in the water, literally, in Tampa. So that could be something to look into. I don't want to point any fingers and call anybody out yet, but just something to keep an eye on.
Speaking of a team that's been near the top in the NFC that had an off week last week, Packers-Seahawks was a snoozer. Russell Wilson also came back to the field with Aaron Rodgers this week and was unable to put up a single point. I feel like most shows are talking about the Packers, but I brought this point up about a month and a half ago when Russell Wilson got hurt. Are we seeing the end of the Seahawks run?
I think that was yeah, that's a good point. What run? It was like fucking 10 years ago at this point.
I mean, they've been relevant in the playoffs most every year.
I mean, I think you can definitely start talking about it. Something doesn't look right over there. I think if I would fire Pete Carroll just cause. Why the hell not? He sucks. He can't even find the damn challenge flag. He's out there throwing up electronic heaters onto the field. So I think you could definitely raise the question. And I as someone who's not the biggest fan of the Seahawks or Packers, I think seeing the lowest scoring game in the first half with these two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, yeah, I think it was fun to watch. Sloppy game, but I don't know. I think Russell Wilson's on his way out.
Paulie, how do you fix the Seahawks? Is it fixable, or is it time run out with Russell Wilson?
When you give up multiple first-round picks for Jamal Adams, that starts to lead to your demise, in my opinion. Kind of what made the Seahawks, what started their run was talent acquisition, draft picks, free agency, and building around Russ. Young in his career now, pretty much making him do it, all on his shoulders.
Yeah, can you name three starters they've drafted in the top 3 rounds? Can you name 3 starters they drafted in the top 3 rounds other than Russell Wilson?
Rashad Penny, Boston.
Not a starter, yeah.
DK.
I mean,
DK
besides
Metcalf's the only one I can
yeah.
think of.
O-line, I feel like, has been a consistent problem for them. So
Bobby Wagner,
they're
I guess.
done. They're done. Put a fork in them. They're done. Packers, I mean, everyone's ready to crown them the NFC favorites again, but we know how that story goes. They'll make it to the NFC Championship and lose to somebody.
Looking forward to that one. You can go ahead and book them in every NFC Championship bet you have, but I wouldn't go any further than that.
You don't think a little Aaron Rodgers vengeance is he's finally able to pull it out at home?
He'll probably throw it. He'll probably be like, you know what, this is my last year and screw this organization. Just throw the game in the NFC Championship that they, are probably set up to win. So we'll see how that pans out. But let's move on to the basement of that division. We had maybe the game of the week in
game of the year.
Game of the year.
Close.
Well, it certainly was the closest game of the year in terms of the final score. Steelers-Lions ending in a tie. We always love seeing ties. Dan Campbell stayed out of the loss column for the first time in his hopefully long coaching career.
Kyle? Did not watch a single second of this game, but
you fucking missed out. I was wondering.
Shout out to the Lions on at least I'm getting a tie on the board. Another AFC North foe.
Yeah, Chuck, please tell me you watched this overtime.
I watched way too much of this game for some reason. I couldn't turn it off. It's I don't. There were so many drop passes and so many penalties and so much just ass garbage, just terrible football. But for some reason, I couldn't turn the shit off.
Yeah, I texted my buddy who's a Steelers fan, Sean. I literally was like, both teams are better off just punting until someone fumbles it. They cannot move the fucking ball one bit.
Shout out to Sean.
Shout out Sean. Shout out Clark. Clark has made a visual scene for the podcast watchers, making out with Yug.
Clark's a Bears fan. So
that's tough. I think the Lions are gonna repeat next week and tie the Cleveland Browns. That's my bold prediction before we move on to college football.
Has anyone tied twice in the same season? Maybe. I feel like the Vikings have done that.
I feel like isn't that a stretch where like what two teams in the NFC West like tied every year for like 4 years in a row?
The Seahawks and the Rams. I'm pretty sure used to do a lot of time.
They just kept fucking tying.
Why are ties a thing?
I'm just saying, I don't get it. It makes no sense. Somebody in this chat, I know there's a lot of logical brain power in this 4 cubes. Explain to me why an overtime is a good idea in today's day and age where people like seeing scores.
That's Coach. What do you think of this NFL overtime?
What's the point?
Sucks.
I think the only point is keeping players healthy. But
that's it. That's the only thing.
Yeah, but let's go give them a 17th game.
Right.
Because that makes sense.
All right, well, let's think of something better. I
heard a good point here. We could, continue with the tie and just kind of embrace it to the point where obviously you have to have a winner in the playoffs, but let's say that the Super Bowl first overtime ends in a tie. I think both teams could just agree to be co-champs at that point. If it's part of the regular season, then, if both teams just want to call it, it's in the rule book, so everyone wins.
I heard Russell Wilson say on the Manicast the first week that they should just do field goals from every 5 yards addition, like starting at like a 40-yard field goal, and just until the kicker fucks it up.
I wouldn't know. I don't listen to the Manicast.
No, let's do overtime before we're lining up kickers and putting the fade in them.
Well, you still get overtime, but that's at the end of the 10 minutes. You get fucking kicked off.
When a kicker kicks 2 extra points and 3 field goals in a game, that's enough airtime for them. We don't need to see them more than we need to see them. I think we should just do it like college. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, there'd be so many points scored. Imagine your fantasy lineups you'd be praying for overtime games. You just get touchdowns after touchdowns. It'd be a 100-point game. I mean, tell me that's not better than, all right, we're done. Everybody just go home here. Hey, put your jerseys in the wash and head on out of here. Tie game.
I kind of like ties.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. For those people that don't know, Tom, that makes a lot of sense why you would like a tie. But me, personally, an NFL fan, that's boring as censor it for the kids.
You said you couldn't turn the game off.
But
how is that boring?
But because I wanted it to keep going. I would have watched the whole ass other overtime. I mean, I just don't – I struggle to see any benefit other than, I guess, players' health, which you made a good point. They're adding a 17th game, so they don't care about that.
My favorite part of ties is every time there's a tie, some player after the game says he didn't know there was going to be a tie. Like he hasn't watched football his entire life and never knew that there was going to be a tie. How does that even happen? Kyle, do you think these NFL players actually know there's not a tie?
I guess so.
Yeah, you just got to take their word for it,
All right. We'll move on to college football here. Do we want to start with the playoff rankings or wrap up since we just saw them get released? Then who actually seen them?
Nope.
I know. All right. Well, we'll get into a little recap here. Oklahoma, the people's champion of the podcast, has finally lost. Kyle and Chuck, which one of you guys want to start for the team you guys crowned in week 4 or week 5?
Did I say they were going to win?
Whoever said that?
They were talking about Oklahoma as being better than Alabama at one point.
I think our listeners will go back and dig that up and see who's telling the truth. But I do remember being on Oklahoma because of Caleb Williams. I mean, I think they're screwed. I don't watch a whole lot of college football, to be completely honest with you, but I feel like
You just got wined and dined by Oklahoma, and you bought into the hype. You be honest.
Hey, why not? I don't really give a shit too much about college football, so I don't know. I feel like, just like I said, I don't know much, but I feel like Oklahoma was one of those teams that if they wanted to get in the 4, they had to run the table. They probably couldn't afford a loss. Tell me if I'm wrong.
They're
KP?
done.
KP?
With our college football talk, I'll let you guys get your points in on Trent. We know who you want to talk about. I don't know if Tom has anyone to add. This is a one-team race right now. We should crown them right now. Do you want me to get to that team? Or
Yeah,
wait.
I mean, we don't have to really touch anything more other than Oklahoma, and the Big 12 is kind of a joke. But we'll move into the Bulldogs. Kyle, take it from here before I interrupt you.
Go Dogs. Was able to watch this team against Tennessee, who I think is definitely a competitive Tennessee team this year.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Offensively are a lot better than years past. I just want to – this defense is – it could be top 10 all time.
85 Bears.
They are a bunch of junkyard dogs.
0-1 Ravens.
And we're going to go to the
Legion of
side of the ball.
Boom.
Hey, Stetson Bennett gets it done. The kid's got a little wiggle in him. Athletic.
Stetson Bennett, the Georgia quarterback.
Go ahead and talk about whoever you want. At the end of the season, we're going to be sitting here with the Georgia Bulldogs, national championship. Shout out to Kirby Smart. I just don't even think it's a race anymore.
All right,
I'll take Alabama.
It's going to come down to the SEC championship again, I think.
Who's the best team Georgia's beat, Kyle?
Who's the best team they beat?
Yep.
Kentucky,
Tennessee.
Tennessee. They're rolling through everyone.
I'm just saying.
Tennessee.
I think they're the best team right now, but like we're gonna crown a team that hasn't really played a competitive matchup yet.
They'll get
Not competitive. I think.
I mean, they're making everyone look bad. Yeah.
Do they have to play Alabama no matter what?
They have to play Alabama in the SEC championship, but they've avoided Texas A&M.
Doesn't lose.
They avoided Ole Miss.
They have to play Alabama. You'll learn everything you'll learn about them against Alabama.
I'm just telling you, this team's on a different level right now. You could say some will compete with them, but I just don't see a glaring weakness with this team.
What percent sure are you that they're gonna win it all?
Yeah.
Put a percent on it. Percent chance sure that they win it all.
That they win it all?
Yep.
Yeah. Percent 80%. Chance. Georgia. Clipping that. That's
what?
He's 80% sure.
You said 88?
Give me Georgia, you guys can have the field.
80.
If they beat Alabama in the SEC championship, does Alabama get in? Are they out?
Alabama's out with two losses, I feel like.
I would think so as well.
I don't.
If it's a close game, I would not be surprised if.
Yeah.
That committee
would also not surprise me.
Really yeah, we can get into the rankings real quick. They still got Alabama 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4, Cincy 5. Then the Michigans back-to-back with Notre Dame is the real contenders to get in. You mean to tell me they're not going to leave Alabama out if they lose like a 3-point game to Georgia? They're definitely putting Alabama in.
So who would be in front of them? Who would be in front of them then?
I mean, it would be.
Who would you make? Cincinnati?
It's Cincinnati or 2-loss Alabama.
Cincinnati over 2-loss Alabama.
No,
I would hope
my
so.
God, that would be fucked if they put in Alabama still. Cincinnati would burn to the ground.
I hope it comes down to that. I hope Alabama does lose to Georgia and we get to see those playoff rankings.
Nah, they'll line up Alabama, Georgia a month later and play it again.
Listen, I'm just saying we can argue this all, and I know we have to because 4 teams have to get in. I know Trent's excited after his little trip to Columbus. I'm just saying,
I stayed quiet. I'm not.
You heard it here first. This Georgia team is not losing, so put it on the record right now.
All right. I mean, it's going to be on your.
On the record, it's going to be posted on Spotify, YouTube. all all streaming platforms soon enough.
Twitter.
Brought to you by Domino's.
Tom, what are your other reactions to this playoff ranking?
I mean, nothing really changed, right? So I don't think there's a whole lot to react on. Obviously, we've been talking about it, but all the big dogs in the Big Ten are going to play each other, and somebody's going to win those games and somebody's going to lose. So in a few weeks, when it's championship weekend, we will reevaluate things and see where everyone stands.
I made a couple bets when we were on the Trippy Trip. Was it what, $50 bet, Kyle, that I got the Buckeyes and you got the two Michigan teams? One of them got to beat me.
Correct.
All right. I think I bet something to Chuck's dumbass, too. He's got fat Aaron Rodgers on the screen.
Suck it, Rude.
But I'll get into the Buckeyes a little bit. Probably be the last game I attend this year as first-time season ticket holder. Tried to get as many as the Ohio boys to the game. Kyle had the sniffles. Couldn't make it, but we tore up sorority fraternity party with Bryn Thomas and went to the game. I got to be honest, I wasn't impressed by the Buckeyes this weekend. I mean, 59 points against the Purdue team and giving up 31. I mean, it's not any good. And they should have played better defense, you know. This Ohio State team needs to win by 50 every week for people to give a shit about them. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure they'll make it in if they win the Big Ten.
Didn't they cover?
Yeah, they covered. But, you know, I mean, nobody's talking about this team. People are still going to pretend Oregon's better than them when they lose to Stanford and beat Washington by 10 points. But, I mean, if we're really going to rank teams off how good we think they are since we're not doing win and loss record, I don't see how anyone thinks Oregon's better than Ohio State.
So don't they have the same win-loss record?
Yeah.
Didn't one team beat the other?
Yeah.
So I see no reason why Ohio State would be ranked over Oregon at this time.
So if Ohio State wins out, you still going based off of head-to-head matchup, or you going off body of work?
As long as Oregon wins out?
Matchup, I think that's as clear as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, one team plays another and one team wins. Like, I think you got to reward the team that wins. And I don't know why that's a debate, but it seems to be because you see Michigan in front of Michigan State for some reason.
Well, then let's put University of Texas San Antonio in the playoff. We're going to go off record. I mean, they're undefeated.
No, you're arguing.
That's just apples and oranges.
We're talking about a team beating an opponent
Ohio
they're
State.
ahead of, which is how it should be. I don't think there's any argument to that.
So is the playoff?
So what's your argument, Trent?
So what is the playoff committee ranking? Are we ranking like who we think looks the best? Are we ranking off a record? Because I don't really know what we're ranking off. My point is, like,
you know, Trent, I'm not in that room, but I can tell you from watching it for however many years now, they rank it off of whatever logo's on the helmet. They kind of start there, and you know, record obviously plays a part of it, but not everything. As you can see, Cincinnati not, you know, in the top 4. They're an undefeated team. And then you look at head-to-head sometimes, I guess, whenever you want to, because, like I said, Michigan State beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Oregon beat Ohio State. So, I don't know. I'm not in that room. It doesn't seem to make much sense to me.
You're betting the Oilers?
Oh, it is even.
Are they on ESPN?
Even? Oh, Oilers all day, baby.
Is this on ESPN or?
It is on ESPN.
Interesting.
I want to say, like, I can never keep track what night's hockey and which night's basketball night.
All right, fucking going on Oilers. Edmonton.
They're fucking electric. All right, so we're going to stay with college football here, but I wanted to bring light on a topic that I've noticed lately more and more frequently, and that is players entering the transfer portal. So basically, with new eligibility rules, you're seeing players pretty much be able to, you know, enter so-called free agency and be able to, there's less time and restrictions on sitting out now. So you're seeing guys do it more and more frequently, and it just
So it's
I also
online.
saw a report that unknown AD said you could see basically free agency in college sports in years to come with players maybe not even having to go to class. So what do you guys think about this and the future of the sport? It is a collegiate sport, but I think they're
At this
going
point,
down a
is it?
route.
Is it really? Yeah, it's kind of been a slippery slope where we talked about, players getting paid for their likeness and endorsements and things like that. So, I mean, at what point is it professional versus amateur? Because they're not getting paid necessarily to play, but at the same time, they are kind of getting paid because they are playing this game.
So why does one guys get to be immediately eligible and other guys don't?
I don't know the exact, all the specific. I know a lot of it has to do if you're transferring in conference or not. I think some teams are still able to, stopgap them if you were to transfer in conference. I guess the big part of this is, do you think it creates maybe more parity in college sports, or do we continue to see some of the domination of these bigger schools that we've seen?
Huh. I mean, you would think that it would cause more parity because all these 5 stars go to the same damn schools and then they transfer to one another. But I don't know. It also feels like when a team like Alabama has a hole, someone's always going to transfer there. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Surprise freeze. What do you think down there?
Yeah, check out the banner if you haven't seen it already. But I just think they better be careful. College football, this shit's gonna turn into like the NBA, where people just be like, "All right, well, I don't want to play here anymore. I'm leaving," and then they just decide to get on out of town. Like that could like really snowball, and like if one person does it, then they see it works out, and other people start doing it. And like, what's more incentive to leave now? Like in the NBA, like at least you already got your money and you already been paid. Like college, you're still trying to get paid. So if you're a backup and you're not like playing or whatever, or your team sucks and you're not getting looked at, why wouldn't you just dip on out of there? Because I mean, you got to go.
And
Ultimately,
these guys
what's
get
best
paid
for
now.
yourself.
And these guys get paid now. You're not going to get paid if you don't play.
But I mean, you're getting looked at like if you're at a smaller school and then it's just you start 0-2 and you're like, all right, well we suck, and like somebody else will take you at like a mid-level major or whatever. Why not just get on out of there? Because like, and then like I think everybody will start doing it. Like quarterback does it, sees it works out, and then the running back does it, and then you're like left with a bunch of scraps. So and then some teams are just absolutely loaded.
I mean, I'm all for a kid getting the opportunity to maybe show his talents for the next level or get closer to home, compete on a winning team, whatever the reason is. But we talk about these pro sports, they're drafted to their teams. These high school athletes going into college, so they have the opportunity to pick wherever they want to go, really, or who's looking at them. So it's not like they didn't get the choice to start with. So I just think it's alarming, and I don't think it's good for the game moving forward, in my opinion.
Does the portal like open and close? Because it looks like nobody's joined the portal since July 30th.
Oh, portal's got hours?
People have joined today.
Really?
Yep.
Of course they have.
Who's the top prospect on the portal that joined today? Who are we looking at?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at this thing right now.
I'm checking out Nate Howard, offensive tackle.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Southern Miss, but it looks like he's a baseball player, so I can't quite figure that one out.
I saw that one too.
Here's a wild idea for you. What happens if all the kids in the portal are like, F this, we make our own portal team?
That'd be great. I'd root for him.
There's a lot of players. There's going to be a lot of players on that team.
Oh, my God. It's all coming to me right now. The wheels are spinning, and then they turn into the modern-day Georgia, Alabama, and they just dominate year in, year out. And instead of committing to Alabama University, LSU, Georgia, they got the 3 hats on the table, and one of them is it says PU on it in black and red letters. It says Portal. I'll be taking my talents to Portal University, and they end up with 45 5-stars.
I mean, Chuck, love the idea. I just think there is a limit on the number of players allowed on your team, and this would far exceed it. We're going to need a few portal teams.
All right, we'll have the A team, B team.
A portal conference, yeah.
Yeah, or just put one portal team. Eventually, there will be 5 portal teams, and you just put one in each Power 5, and then they end up playing each other at the end of the year. 5 portal teams and then 1 at large.
I kind of like that. Maybe you transfer to the team of your college, so then it's like every time you guys play, it's like somebody's week where they got to kick their former team's ass.
But there's got to be some sort of reason why you, wouldn't want to go to Portal University, because then everybody's going to want to go there, and then there's going to be an influx of talent, and then they're not.
Well,
going to
education. That's the reason you wouldn't want to.
Yeah, but you don't get it. You don't get a degree at Portal University.
It's just like it's like an NFL prep, college.
Yeah,
one of
it's
those,
like Stark State.
Yeah, no, they just play in the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Maybe we might have just started our own league. In the span
Start
of
making
5
the calls. See if we can find Noah Mitchell, linebacker's phone number and email address. Get him on the horn.
Maddox Cobb.
His idea on it.
We need to get at least 5 out of the top 10 portal people. What if we put this? I feel like they're all a group. They're all friends. They're texting each other where are you going? Where are you going? Oh, let's go together.
Yeah, Kyle's got to have a plug to this OU corner.
We need insider info into the portal. What is the portal? What is the transfer portal really?
Kyle's on to unpack there. You got anything to unpack?
It's almost like a dating app for college football and coaches. I don't know. Just see who's online and who's looking for a new.
You have one portal team for each part of the country. You have a West Coast portal, an East Coast portal, a North portal, a South portal, and then the middle of the country portal. So you're covering all bounds.
That's great thinking.
I think we're onto something here.
You know what? Let's just make the portal international while we're at it. Expand the college football scene.
Well, that's true. If we get into a couple of foreign markets, people will be chomping at the bit to get in on this.
Yeah, well, London will have a team.
If anyone out there on the transfer portal or listening and be interested, please email ttnc15@gmail.com. We'll reach back to it.
2015@gmail.com.
We'll get your name out there.
Yeah.
Send all emails, good, bad, ugly. If you want to complain, we love complaints. Just make sure you direct them to ttnc2015@gmail.com.
All right. Well, I think that does it. Once again, my email on blast. Love that for me. But we're gonna do picks later in the week. Tom is bitching about how he went 0-7, how it was too early in the week. So we'll give it some time and we'll give it its breath of its own show. But
I need a big bounce back week. I need time to think about it.
Just to close out, we had our first double 0-7 week of the pod with Kyle and Tom, whiffing on every matchup. I'm the only one that not go over yet, and Chuck is in second place. So unless anybody has anything to add, I think we're probably good to wrap up.
Yeah, sorry if you put your hard-earned money on my picks last week, which I know you didn't, but we'll try to not have an offer. I'll do my research for the end of this week.
Tom, surprise freeze?
All of them.
I'd like to add one more thing before we head on out of here. This podcast is brought to you by Domino's. Get it set. Domino's. Use code Clubhouse Sports at checkout. 10% off your total order, not including taxes or delivery fees. Please tip your driver in these uncertain times. And if the code does not work, please again email ttnc2015@gmail.com.
Try out the cheesy bread.
Cheesy bread is good as fuck too. Yeah, definitely. We almost got it for free, or we had to pay for it. Imagine if you listening could get it for free.